Yo,
Bet.
what's going on, guys? My name is Chandler, or the Geek Slays. Welcome back to Sports at Sunup. Not a lot of topics today, but a couple interesting ones.
hmm
How we doing, Sasquatch?
Doing good, doing good. Just like you said, not a whole lot to talk about. Not a lot happened today. Nothing really free agent wise in the NFL going around anymore. It's just got to work with what we got now. In all honesty.
There it is. So, the NFL draft is going to be a wild experience this year.
hmm
So, the 2020 draft is going to take place at the end of the month. Instead of actual players being selected by prospective teams, will be treated to virtual crossings of the stage courtesy of the folks at EA Sports. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported the video game developer known for creating Madden NFL series is working on creating a virtual moment of the prospect walking out on stage and meeting Commissioner Goodell. Instead of
Nice.
waiting for the newest version of Madden to release in August, these rookies will get to see the video game version of themselves on draft night. Each prospect will also get to choose a high school to receive a
I'm just now reading that.
$2,500 grant towards their football program.
That's awesome.
That's wild. That's surreal. That
Yeah, it's
I kind of
definitely.
feel bad for the kids getting drafted.
Oh yeah, it, yeah. I mean, that's a huge moment. That's something that kids who grew up wanting. I mean, that's out of everything. Super Bowl, all that. I
The
think the
moment,
moment everybody looks forward to is hearing their name called.
right?
And the fact that now it's going to be a virtual thing and they can't, especially those top ones that are going to be who are invited to the draft itself, that's going to be like a wow, like I missed my moment kind of thing.
Like, I mean, look at us. How many times have we sat back and thought about how cool it would be to hear our name called by whoever,
Oh, when I was playing college ball, I thought about it every day.
right?
And it's unfortunately due to circumstances it won't happen now. But it was still something I thought about, like especially as it got closer and closer to like for me, when as it got closer, I was like, shit, like this could really happen.
Right? I,
But still, like I mean, just coming from that perspective, like that's a big time moment for those guys, and the fact that they can't have it, understandably, why.
right.
But I really feel for those athletes who work so hard to get to that moment. And
I mean, it's still going to be exciting. You're still going to hear Commissioner
oh yeah,
Goodell
for
say your
sure.
name, but for especially these guys who are at the upper echelon, all the first round picks, all the guys in the green room,
hmm
who we're going to have that moment where they get to walk on the stage and give Goodell the hug, hold up the jersey,
Yep.
proclaim to the fans of the team they're going to that, like, I'm here. This is us.
Well,
That
and
moment, they're gonna miss
another
that moment.
another thing you gotta think though too is now with all the stuff they're having with the quarantine stuff, I mean they can't even have a party because all these states are limiting how
Oh
many,
my
like,
god.
the groups. I mean, I can't. I think it's Georgia who's is now limited to like no groups above 10 people.
I think that's most places. I think that's even
It, it
here.
it it might be. That's what I'm saying though. Like all these guys who, even as I mean, they've look at Des Bryant. The dude did not go to the draft. He had a stay-at-home draft party, and I mean, when he got picked, I mean, when they did the whole zoom in on him, all that kind of stuff. I mean, his house was packed.
Yeah.
None of these guys, especially these first rounders, like, are gonna have that.
Damn.
Like, that's another thing.
I didn't even think about that.
So I mean, it's just gonna be like a
Fuck.
holy shit. I'm in the NFL,
And
and
there's nobody there to.
there's just immediate family. You know.
That's fucking wild. Or maybe not even immediate family. I mean, some of these guys, like,
Well, like I know in Colorado right now, which is where some my mom and them live. They're they're on a only like immediate family is really allowed around each other. So like people who already live in the household can be there, but then they're not recommending other people
right?
Go.
And I'm thinking about like some of these kids. If you go to college in Alabama, you're still in school. I
Mhm.
mean, you're still finishing your degree probably. So you're probably still in Alabama while your family could be in California. They can't come to you. You're going to be alone in an
Yep.
apartment for your biggest moment. That's fucked, dude.
Yep. It's a terrible thing.
I mean, there's so much terrible shit about this other than the sickness itself is terrible, but like think of the high school seniors.
Oh yeah, I've already had friends that have reached out to me that, obviously they were, they may have been in middle school and all that, but like as a high school athlete, I did a lot of stuff with like sports and all, like helping out.
Yeah.
So those guys who are seniors now, that I helped coach throughout their careers and all that kind of stuff too, like I've had a few of them call me up, it's just sad. Like, I got to walk the stage,
I,
you know.
I didn't, but that's by
Well,
choice, not by.
yeah, but even then, like, it's just like,
But it's like I chose not to. These
yeah.
kids, they're just fucked out of it.
Well, and like my university here, they canceled the graduation here too. Like for me, like I'm not graduating this semester. I'm one of the lucky ones who will be doing it next semester. But for those that have worked so hard the past 4 or 5 years, or even longer in some cases, to not get that moment, that's crazy. And it sucks, and I feel for those.
That dude, this entire thing, dude, is not.
Yeah, it's only getting worse. That's what's bad about it. Because I actually heard on the we talked about it 2 days ago, I think is what it was, about this possibly going over into the next, just in the NFL season or next football season in general.
Uh,
Now it's being talked about going into not even starting school like next semester,
really?
because they're thinking it's going to be that long. I mean, if the NFL cancels, football season starts in August or September. I mean, that's
Uh,
when school starts. So I mean, if the NFL cancels,
uh,
if this gets as bad as that, why why wouldn't they? Why would they have school? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, even that's just going to be a
what a wild fucking time we live in.
yeah.
What a wild time.
But and trust me, like I'm in online classes now, and I thought it'd be like, oh yeah, cool, that's fine. It
Online
honestly,
classes are
it
rough.
sucks because
Yeah.
it is the most organized I something I've ever seen. Like it's tough, you know.
Yeah.
So
I tried to do online classes before I dropped out and went and got my high school equivalency, because there's two different things. There's a GD and
mhm,
a high set. A high set looks better on resumes or something like that.
yeah.
So whatever. I but I tried online classes, and not only is it weirdly unorganized, it's like organized but it's unorganized. But also
Mhm.
there's nothing maybe it's different when you're in college and you pay for the shit. But for me, there was nothing that motivated me to actually get on and do anything with my classes.
I hear you. I mean, like, I don't know, online classes, like, obviously, I'm not going to say where I go. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. But, like for me, like, it's just super unorganized. Like, I already had, like, before all this even happened, I usually take about one online course a semester anyway. Um, but it is just so unorganized. And even now, all these classes that, like, for me, like, I'm pursuing a medical degree,
Hmm.
like, and for like one of my classes is an anatomy and physiology class. Um, and I have a lab with that class, and all the labs had to be pushed online. Like, technically speaking, right now, I'm supposed to be dissecting a pig. Like that was what was on for this week, or like this last week. And now it's like you got to go online and get all this stuff done and figure out how to do it there. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that doesn't really mean anything, but I'm just
The,
saying, like,
I
the
think
fact that these classes that have to be like in person are now being forced to go online, it just doesn't work, especially in something like that.
online classes are so chaotic already that
Oh yeah.
throwing it into these have to be online classes and they have to start now with all these students who've never done it, all these teachers who's never taught that way.
Hmm.
It's wild. And like it's even more wild that some of these companies, like, so not everybody's going through an actual like online schooling platform. Like there's this website called Zoom or whatever that's for
Yeah,
like
I
video
have some
conferences
teacher
and
friends
shit.
that have been doing that, and they
That
like
is a mistake.
like
Like,
one of my friends that she's a pre-K teacher, and weirdly enough pre-K, and she does the Zoom stuff with those
Zoom
kids.
is just
I've never
bef-
used it. I hadn't even heard I hadn't
don't.
even heard I hadn't even heard about it until a couple days ago when I was talking to her.
Yeah,
So
I hadn't really heard about it because it was super obscure at the time. And then now that there are millions of people using it, there are all these people who have found flaws in the code and stuff. So it's like super hackable for anybody. Like it's a
yeah,
like the FBI today actually put out a thing saying don't use this website.
really.
Yeah, because there's so
Wow.
many security flaws.
That's
Because
crazy.
they've well the
They've never
insane
been they've
uptick in
never been
people.
big, so
Yeah,
they've never really had to like, oh, like even if even if people start using like, no one's gonna hack into it. But
and
now that millions, I'm sure millions
and
upon
if
millions
it's
of
a
people are
slow
using
growth,
this, it's like,
if it's a slow growth, you find those exploits easier. But
yeah,
now it's every exploit that's been there found at once because there's
because
so many
it
people
went from
there.
like maybe a couple thousand people in the world using this to like every fucking buddy.
Right.
It's like,
So
uh,
then we got one other story to talk about, and it's Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett are going to be inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. All deserving, all easily.
oh
I
yeah,
don't think there's an argument
yeah.
there. But like I was telling you before we started this, when we were going over topics to discuss, you know, reading that, my first thought was, dude, I bet Kobe's speech is going to be amazing. Like, I don't know.
It still doesn't seem real. Like I mean, it's not even from an athlete standpoint. That's what I've said. Like just who he was as a person,
Yeah,
like and seeing what he did and was still doing in the community itself. I mean, that's just somebody. I think if you, regardless if you liked him as an athlete or not, if you don't look up to Kobe Bryant as a person, something's wrong
right,
with you.
right.
I mean,
The part about it that fucks me up is kind of from an athlete perspective. Like if you look at basketball
oh yeah,
legends,
yeah,
like
yeah. Even then,
basketball legends don't die. They I mean they do, but I mean Bill Russell's still kicking around. He's like 95. Like
Abdul-Jabbar is still there, isn't he?
yeah. Like there are 3 MVPs
Hmm.
that have died. That's it.
Well,
Kobe, Moses Malone, and some other guy that I can't remember off the top of my head. It's like for basketball Hall of Famers, they're around. These basketball legends are around forever. So I think
yeah,
it's just that. I think that part is what makes it so hard to
yeah.
take.
And I mean, even going and even looking at the athlete perception on it too. The amount of athletes that he inspired, I mean,
Yeah,
is just amazing. It goes beyond basketball. I mean, look at
yeah,
the NFL. Look at all these sports that paid homage to him and all that kind of stuff. Because even if they played a completely different sport, his thing was the Mamba mentality, and that was
yeah.
it was all about just you know
It,
it's it's crazy that he's gone, and it still doesn't seem real that he is, because I mean you would hear stories about him all the freaking time,
right.
and then you get that like a week or something before the tragedy happened, they dropped the video celebrating his iconic 80-point game,
Yeah.
and it was the commercial with him and who the fuck did who did he drop it on? That's what they whoever
Oh,
he would
the yeah. The Mavericks, right?
No.
It was, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
His 80-point game was against the Mavericks.
I don't think so.
I might be wrong.
Kobe 80-point game. I'm looking
Also. Oh, the Raptors.
Yes, that's who it was. Yes. Anyway,
my
and
bad.
they had him, and it was I just remember seeing that commercial, and it was on the day that he ended up
Yeah.
having the tragedy, and for whatever reason they played that, and it just completely was like, why the fuck did you do this? But I mean, it was I still laugh because it honestly is the funny joke. He's like, no, I don't hold anything, you know. And the waiter comes back. He's like, sir, how many? It's like, how many packets of sugar or something like that would you want with your with your coffee or whatever? He's like, oh, 81. And he just stares him down.
Dude, that day was so weird. Just because, like, I read it. Well, I actually walked out of my room and my aunt goes, so Kobe Bryant died? I'm like, no. No,
that didn't happen.
Yeah, whatever you read, that's fake. So I jump on Twitter. I'm like, okay, Twitter will let me know. It wasn't trending yet. Like, I don't know how she figured it out before Twitter. Like, that was wild.
Well, I
so
think
I'm just,
at the
like,
time,
refreshing everything.
It probably was at the time, like, I think people were honestly too in shock to really say anything, because like you just said, you know, basketball legends never die. You know, all this, you don't expect to wake up that day and see somebody that inspired millions upon millions of people at such a young age just die in a tragedy like he did.
I mean, not even, to me, it wasn't even just inspired so many people. Inspired me. Like, when I was still in sports, like, it was Kobe. Like,
Yep.
LeBron's always been one of my favorite players, Ray Allen, these guys, but, like, Kobe was the guy who's like, that's what you want to be. Because he talked about, and it's like one of my favorite things, he was like, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm looked at as the best player to ever live. Going into every game and every practice, I'm going to practice like I'm the 13th man on that roster fighting to keep my spot.
He set the standard for why only go to where, why only go as high as you think you can, and why stop there? If you've reached if you reach college ball, it's like, you know, okay, but if you're good enough, why not go to the league?
Right.
You know, and even if you make it to the league, why not be the best player? And if you if you become the best player, why not do what you can to make sure you are the best player for a lifetime?
Yeah.
And even I'm sure in his head, even beyond that, whatever you could put beyond that.
Right.
Like, that's what Kobe Bryant was, to me anyway.
He was, I don't know. Like, even, like, I don't know. He's just, I don't know. He was the thing, really, that got me into basketball. He was, yeah. It's wild. I don't. It sucks that we're not going to get to hear that Hall of Fame speech.
I'm sure someone obviously is going to fill in for him, and I'm sure it'll probably be honestly, I think it'll be Shaq.
I think it might be one of those things where multiple people talk.
Yeah, the people that really
Vanessa will talk.
Vanessa will talk for sure.
Shaq will talk.
Shaq
and
will talk.
And I bet even Bron talks.
Who?
LeBron.
Oh, LeBron's talking for sure.
I don't know if MJ probably will, because everybody knows that's who Kobe modeled himself after, and I
mean, looking at the games they had together, I mean,
even just looking at Kobe's game purely, he came into the league and he did everything like Michael. Like, he walked like Michael, he ran like Michael, he talked like Michael. Everything was Michael-esque. And yeah. For us, he was our generation's version of Mike. Well, maybe not yours. I don't know how much older you are than me.
I think, like, when Kobe's funeral or memoriam happened, there in, when they did the LA, like the big thing there at the stadium or gym, I guess,
Staples
whatever.
Center.
The Staples Center, yes. When they had Michael come on there, he was joking. He started crying, all that kind of stuff.
He made the
Like,
crying Jordan joke.
yeah,
The meme,
I think, in my opinion, the reason it hit Michael so hard was not just because of his death, but the fact that
it shows that
he inspired somebody to go out there and be greater than he was.
See,
and
the other thing that I think it did for not just me but everybody is it just, I don't know, it really exposed your what's the word, mortality. Like, Kobe's one of those guys who you just think of and you think Kobe can't die. Like, he can't. He just will refuse. He'll just be like, nah, I'm good on that. And I think that's something that even hit Michael and everybody else is he can't die. Like, Kobe in my head was gonna outlive me and my kids. Like, there was no shot.
Yeah.
Like, just because he's that type of, I don't know, the feeling, it was just.
And also, the fact that along with the 7 other people, including his daughter, that itself is because from what I understand, everybody in that aircraft that day, they were all somehow connected in a big way into that city alone. One of them was like one of the most well-known
baseball
coaches in the state, let alone probably the country, and along with his wife and I think
daughter.
One of his kids.
Yeah, his daughter.
Yeah, because I think two of them were old enough on their own or something like that. I think is what it was.
Gigi and that coach's daughter were on the same basketball team. That's where everybody was going, was to a game.
And then they had one more family on there.
Yeah.
And they were all going. It was either to a game or they were going to a practice.
It was a game, if I remember right.
It was it was basketball related for the kids. They were going to something for it. And it's
that's the even more wild thing to me about all of it. It's just, I don't know. I don't think Kobe or Gigi or Vanessa, any of them, ever got into a helicopter and were afraid.
Well,
that's how Kobe went everywhere.
Well, and looking at the pilot's experience, looking at it, that was his thing. That he's been doing this for years. He not only was he Kobe's pilot, he was Kawhi Leonard's pilot. He was, I believe, he was unibrow.
Anthony Davis.
I believe he was Anthony Davis's pilot too. From what I understand, along with some other big time athletes, maybe not just basketball, but it's like, and obviously the weather had something to do with it. From what I'm understanding, it was super foggy. Police helicopters were even downed at that moment because it was too foggy to fly. Why they got the permission to take off, I don't know. But even then, knowing his experience, something went wrong that was out of his control to fix it. And that's just not something that I think would happen to an extremely experienced pilot.
Right.
Something had to have happened that there was just nothing he could do. But I don't know. There's so many different stories out there with what happened, from like engine failure to just overall mechanical issues, and then there's the one that because it was on the hillside and all that kind of stuff, they're thinking with it being so foggy they couldn't see the hill, they couldn't see how high they were, and they just hit it.
See, I can't believe that one.
I don't either. I believe wholeheartedly something happened
where you
with
see
the copter.
altitude and you can know your altitude and where you're at. Like, there's systems of knowing, like, oh, there's a hill here, I'm not high enough. Like, there's a system of knowing that in place. We're not, this isn't the first helicopter ever flown.
Oh, for sure. Like, that's why I something happened on that aircraft that caused that. That was nobody's.
Oh, I hate the one. So it pissed me off. There was all the conspiracy theorists were out hard after that one, because the night before, LeBron passed Kobe on the all-time scorers list, and
he was there.
Yeah,
like
yeah, and he celebrated with LeBron when he hit the shot that put him past. Like, they were close. They were. I don't.
Oh yeah.
No argument. But the
we already had that discussion. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
we already had that discussion that the only reason LeBron never went to the Lakers anyway was because Kobe was playing,
and they loved
that They loved the competition between each other.
Like, even in the All-Star game, there's the images of LeBron like squaring up to Kobe on defense and then like slapping the floor like, let's do this. I want this.
I mean, like, I couldn't even imagine how. I think if LeBron gets put on the Lakers with Kobe, along with Shaq and all those guys,
Jesus Christ! Even if
this
it's
might
after
sound,
Shaq left,
even if it's after Shaq, this might be a little extreme, but I don't know if the Lakers lose one championship since like 2008. I think I think they're still on this 12-year championship run, and
for sure, because
that's coming from someone who's.
What are you gonna do? Like, you gonna double LeBron because you have to? Oh, well, somehow Kobe's gonna be open over there every time.
If you double both of them, then I mean, you got.
LeBron James is maybe the best passer we've ever seen. Double them both, he's getting it to the wide open 7 other guys. Like, they would have been the most OP thing. Like, I feel like they even talked about that. Like, LeBron was like, I could join Wade and Bosh, and there are still teams who could take us down. But if I joined Kobe, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
especially because if he would have joined Kobe, it would have been Kobe and Pau, like, or even earlier Kobe and Shaq. But I don't think Shaq got traded in 2005. Like, LeBron would have been a second-year player. I don't see that. Happening.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think it would have been Kobe and Pau's teams, but like, those teams were amazing by themselves. Throw in, either the best or the second best player of all time next to him, they would have been unbeatable. Like, the original, Big Three in Boston would have got swept easy. Because, like, yeah, that's crazy thought, but
yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
I think that covers everything we wanted to cover, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do we have something else?
I don't think so. There's nothing going on in the sports world right now.
We'll do some research and see. I think we could possibly start talking some EA stuff if we really needed to at the moment.
Some esports stuff, and then
I
think if we both have time, I'd say let's do some research on like actual draft prospects. Try to put together like mock drafts to do.
Just do like a mock draft. Okay.
I think that'd be fun.
Let's see what we can do, and let's see if we can't do that Monday or Tuesday's episode. I think that'd be fun.
For sure. But I think that will do it.
Okay, awesome.
Thank y'all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.
See y'all.
Peace.